case. And look at Hopkinsville and how family is defending their allegedly against these little goblin-like creatures that are trying to enter or do whatever they're trying to do.
Alright. Sorry about that, guys.
Seemingly driven by interest
That did
in
happen.
what they're seeing, who pursue, engage, and then the conflict arises.
That's right, yeah. Well, who wouldn't want to go wrestle with a little 3-foot-tall humanoid furry creature? You know, that's just in our nature, right? We want to go up and give a little cuddle.
Anything that scares me, first inclination is to run straight toward it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Come on over here and give me a hug. One of those kind of deals. But as it turns out, that wasn't a good choice.
Did it a whole bunch of more.
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron. Judgment Day has made a pretty successful career out of bending the rules and using any advantage.
We know what's next. DDT. Jacob about to end this fight. Big time win in this tag team match.
Here are winners, the team of Jacob. Capture, that's what I mentioned a moment ago. It's described in different accounts as being between 20 and 50 pounds, so fairly light. And the description of the creatures is very striking because it's not something I've seen repeated in other cases that I can think of. They were described as being 3 to 4 feet tall, possibly having fur or some kind of shaggy overcoat, not having ears, mouths, or noses, but having prominent eyes. One description that the men gave said they might have been wearing some kind of a dome or a bowl, a helmet of some kind over their heads. And in the midst of this stuff,
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just go, Jacob's playing something here.
And looking at Jacob, absolutely spot.
DDT.
There's two.
Got it. What a tag match we just saw.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob.
And like you said, without the age of the internet, too, this isn't like this instantaneous.
I think this is like pack,
yes, and the source
coming up will be pack 3 or pack 4, something like that. So we're doing alright.
It was later passed on to researchers who were English, Spanish speaking, who brought the story over to the United States. It's been documented in books, which I have here on the table by several different authors, but it originates with this very local newspaper story.
Here we go with the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, all in pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way.
Let's take about two's intentions here. DDT the winner. Jacob about to end this fight.
Oh, he gets the shot right before 3.
You gotta be kidding me.
Surviving that maneuver is absolutely amazing.
That was plan A, and it didn't work. He must be thinking about plan B at this point.
Science fiction parallels to your case.
Immediate cover up with the impact.
Got it. What a match and what a great team.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob.
Especially with a helmet. So there's this blend of technology and also a sort of feral quality represented in multiple different ways, both in the garb and the actual animalistic appearance with the hair. So it's kind of a strange kind of appearing, even as far as ufology goes, and that despite the fact, as we'll discuss a little later, that there were quite a lot of reports that involve alleged hairy bipeds, as ufologists would call these. Cryptozoologists might have different names for them, but yet again, it's interesting to see that there are even some interdisciplinary elements there.
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron. Judgment Day has made a pretty successful career out of bending the rules and using any advantage they can find in the ring. And guys, it's so great to be back here in Minneapolis, the home of such great sports.
Oh, there he goes. This is the
Got him in the corner now. Capitalizing on JD's mistake. Oh! Vicious headbutt. Oh, snapping the leg. Turns it around.
Oh, he slips out of that way.
Super kick. Ouch.
Oh my God, he's reversed it again. Oh, that was a nasty one. Bad matches happen, it's all fun.
There's the winners of the tag match.
Here are your winners. The team of Jacob
That precipitating it. There was just all kinds of weird stuff happening in the time leading up to that.
Which in itself is kind of an interesting perspective on this, because really, not only was this information getting back to America thanks in part to the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, or APRO, Jim and Coral Lorenzen. I think that they had a number of contacts down there in South America, Venezuela, and others. But, I spent a lot of time in South America myself, mostly in Brazil. They have a rich tradition of UFO sightings, and that's important because
Here we go, the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, all in the pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way. He has all the JD.
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
And that's it. Scores the win for the team.
what we might consider to be the humanoid for the more
Here are your winners, the team of.
One more thing, too, also the spherical craft that they described with the sort of cupola on top, a little window-like, orifices on the front that the creatures are actually, I think, at one point seen looking through by the witnesses. And you still hear those descriptions of these metallic spherical UAP. Right now, the Alderman Anomaly Resolution Office have described this as their target package. Metallic spheres, anomalous, objects. We don't liken them to being balloons.
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just go take what you want? If you don't like it, he has all the JD.
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
DDT is the call from McDonough. And it's over. Big tag team win there.
Also reminds me of like Stanford and Sasquatch.
Here are your winners, the team of.
That begs the question, are these little beings extraterrestrials themselves? Are they piloting these crafts? Are they workers? Are they just going out to get these soil samples? Is there somebody else flying the craft and they're just out there to collect because they're small and they can maneuver well, and boom, unexpectedly they had to defend themselves. So I think it's interesting the connection between these little airy beings and the craft.
Yeah, it has a very Chestnut Ridge type feel to it, if you were just to isolate the case.
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just go? He has all the JD.
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
DDT.
This spells trouble for McDonough.
Big time tag team win.
presented yet again that, you know, discovery. As humans press into these places that are wilder, they keep running into things that want to kill them. And this is all going on in the background. I don't know how wide a release that would have had at that point, but certainly movies like it, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms and others, are putting out these ideas of...
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron. Judgment Day has made a pretty successful career. He wants it one more time. And looking at Jacob Fatu. And some good impact on that DDT. Did Jacob Fatu get half of it with the 2 count? No way! No way! Can you imagine how much escaping that pin must have cost him? I can. These are the moments where you really find out how tough you are. That was the home run shot that got thrown at the fence. And quickly now, shoulders down for the win.
Scores the win. What a great team.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob Fatu.
Some of these visual, these similarities, it's confounding.
It is. It's very much so. Of course, South America does have, as you said, a rich tradition of their own kind of stories and folklore. You have the Duende down there, which is these diminutive creatures very similar to what Europeans call goblins. So that is already part of a culture. What's interesting, though, is now these creatures are connected with something from beyond. Well, that makes it so interesting, right? Is because
Here we go with the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, all in pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way.
Yeah, Judgment Day won't rest until there's nobody left to oppose them, until they have completely taken over.
Setting up the Jacob.
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
About to end this fight.
Follows up, shoulders down.
Comes out on top in this tag team match.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob.
They were on the clock. If you are late, show up covered in bruises and say, I saw an alien, and you're not convinced that that's what happened, that's a very odd approach to just, you know, maybe you got out of the truck to use the restroom and you fell down a ditch. That's I would just tell that story if that were what really happened.
An important point there, too. You mentioned, their profession and people who have vouched for their character. My understanding had been that they'd been dealing in tools used in pork butchery and barbecuing and things like that, and they were going to go and...
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Could this be it? And looking at Jacob Fatu.
About to end this fight.
Covers, wasting no time.
This could be it. Wow, got it. Big time tag team win.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob Fatu.
That aspect of it, too. Why run to the tavern and tell them about it first before you go to the police? Kind of like if you look at the Pascagoula abduction, right? Hickson and Parker, who were taken aboard this craft and examined, as they say, well, they run first to the newspaper and it's closed, so then they go to the sheriff. But it's also revealed that there was a tape recorder running in the room, unbeknownst to them.
So we're probably, like I'd say, maybe 3 or 4 matches away from the next pack, I'd say.
My God, what just happened to us?
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just go get all the JD?
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
Is that all she
There's 2. Show up before 3.
I don't know how he just kicked out. I'll tell you what, I don't think he knows either.
That was a golden opportunity to end things. Now he's got to hope the opportunity presents itself again.
Samoan Drew. Turning MVP.
is that a evidently well-known doctor was driving behind these two, and witnessed the entire event. And later told authorities that he had witnessed the fight, but was reluctant to come forward and did not want his name attached to it at all because of what it would do to his reputation and business. But that's an interesting layer to have someone with that level of respect in the community say, I saw everything, and it's just as they said.
Oh, I didn't even check where we were at MFP-wise. Crap. Oh, well.
Let his name be published anywhere. Very understandable. Yeah.
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron. Judgment Day has made a pretty successful career at bending the rules and using any advantage they can find in the ring. And guys, it's so great to be here. And looking at Jacob Fatu.
Did Jacob Fatu get enough of it?
That's right. This could be it. 2K.
Got it. There's the winners of the tag match.
I think it's a place to start connecting dots.
Here are your winners. The team up.
You know, if you ask those who are proponents of, again, what they would scientifically call relic hominoids, but this is just essentially referring to the same thing as Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Some in that camp, as I'm sure Small Town Monsters.
Alright, so one more match and then we're
like to further distinguish that from
good for a pack.
And then, you know, even further removed from the idea of the, you know, possible continuity with UAP sightings. Now, for me, if you want to study the whole history, we have to look at all of it. And you can't deny the fact that, you know, researchers like Ted Bless...
Here we go with the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go. All in the pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way.
And Judgment Day won't rest.
Jacob Fatu's intentions here. Is that all she wrote for McDonough?
Here's two.
Often, characters, and sometimes also pursuit, you know, carried by
McDonough wasting no motion on the count.
These two are finding an answer for everything.
And that's it. Scores a win for the team.
Alright, pack time.
But here in the 2000s, you know, we got up into the 2020s, and we almost never hear about even any sightings of occupants at all, except for rare instances like the Las Vegas thing. So, you know, where did they go? Do we still have stories like that? Do we hear credible stories of similar things today?
You don't, especially my neck of the woods in western Pennsylvania. You think that you would hear about that all the time. But back in the 70s, that was just common. You know, that was a common thing. You know, these things that were running up on people's porches, they were bilocating to people's, people's different places at the same time. But that was a standard fare for instances of. Yeah, this is one of the things that
That was, yeah, really nasty, that one.
More heavily armed now than we used to be.
Um,
And then maybe that's why they're like, no,
back on the grind.
these guys anymore.
Right. Also, I think if I were cryptozoologist, that's all I do, right? Unless I see that thing coming out of the crowd, I'm not going to report fights, right? Because that's not, especially if you are a flesh and blood ape guy, right? That now breaks my idea of how these things operate within our world. So
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron.
He has all the JD.
And looking at Jacob Fatu. Connecting on the DDT.
Did Jacob Fatu get enough of it?
Got it. What a tag match we just saw.
If they see something, even anomalous, but it doesn't.
Here are your winners. The team of Jacob Fatu.
aspects of it, right? And that's kind of the challenge in itself. We're trying to understand all the different reasons why we may not get the full story. Because you do, frankly, I mean, you hear about this. People say that sometimes in conjunction with these, hairy biped reports, there are also strange lights. Not always what we would interpret as being UFOs per se, except for the part that they are unidentified aerial phenomena, but more likely kind of like ghost lights or something would be a better description. Mark?
So that's actually provable in Bigfoot literature. That's what this is all making me think of. Is, having...
Here we go, the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, all in pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way. Jacob's playing something here.
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
Did Jacob Fatu get enough of it? Going right into the penitent.
Big time win in this tag team match.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob.
In this case, that was omitted. That was not reported in some of these books, and others they are included. And it is absolutely a situation where, for one, to be considered as plausible within this field of orthodoxy, I can't let that strange stuff into the report. Just the Bigfoot stuff. Just, if we found tracks, great.
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they Vegas? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron. Judgment Day has made a pretty successful career at bending the rules and using...
He wants it one more time.
And looking at Jacob Fatu. And that was some vicious DDT we just saw.
This spells trouble for McDonough.
And they score the win. What a tag match.
Really an extraordinary story, but I have to limit how extraordinary.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob Fatu.
I mean, and I try not to say that I'm just a person who studies UAP or just who studies folklore, just who studies cryptozoology. I try to look at all of it. I'm kind of a Fortean or an anomalist, you might say. You can be critically minded, but you also have to look at the whole picture. And if you leave out some of the data, I mean, cherry picking is probably not going to do you any good in the long run. Right?
And the classic example of this is Ape Canyon in the Fred Beck story. Typically when people hear Ape Canyon, if there's recognition with that...
Here we go, the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, in pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Oh my God.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way.
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
DDT. Did Jacob Fatu get enough of it? And stand into the cover.
And it's over. Big tag team win there.
The way that many questions of researchers are
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob.
that there were these footprints and these men reported this experience with hairy creatures throwing rocks at their cabin. But that leaves off an important part, almost the crucial part of the story. And to Stan Gordon's credit, who we've mentioned a couple times here, he's very, very good at saying, this is the report as I received it, in total, make of it with you what you will.
Collect the data, and you can interpret the data.
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron. Judgment Day has made a pretty successful career at bending the rules and using and looking at Jacob Fatu.
This spells trouble for McDonough.
Beautiful transition.
And now the cover.
Scores the win. What a great team.
Connection. And I'm just being different subjects are just now breaking down. So in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you're absolutely right. That's what I have a question though. With the Caracas doors, when they were fighting and squabbling, did he hear anything audibly? Did they make any noises? Communicate in any way?
That's a very interesting question. I'm glad you brought us back to that, because the auditory aspect of this encounter is another really striking facet of it. We're going to take a little bit of a diversion and come right back to that.
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just go take what you want? You don't like it, then stay out of the way.
Saying that Judgment Day's business might be easier said than done. This could do it. Not even a 1 count there.
I can't believe the ref didn't get 2 here.
What a shot!
Also witnessed by his mother, and Adelina de Castro stated that after the explosion was heard by multiple residents.
Once more, set it up!
Is it enough? Is this the end? There's 2.
There's the winners of the tag match.
Of weapons being used by
Give me a moment, guys. Just gonna go grab a drink.
That's a whole other historical down right now, but I think it's unique to kind of the mindset of people in this place at this time. So now, as far as the creatures making noises, that I don't have any information on. Does anyone else?
Well, let me just interject something, because the primary witness is saying that there was very little noise that they knew of in the general, immediate vicinity, but others exterior to that heard sounds. Anybody familiar with the Oz factor? The idea that Jenny Randles, especially back in the 80s and 90s, had written about the fact that, and I've found some very compelling UAP reports, even more recently, where people describe in close proximity to the aerial phenomena, sometimes they won't be able to hear other sounds around them. Sometimes it's described as being, I was in the forest, and suddenly all the wildlife became immediately silent. Some people describe a slowing down, or sometimes feeling a sort of a static in the air that makes them feel like they're in almost like a liquid environment, or something like they're moving through peanut butter or something. One of the best and the classic examples that really illustrates possibly what we're hearing about here occurred at REF Quicksand back in the 1960s. It was a call that was made effectively anonymously to the National UFO Reporting Center back when Robert Campbell, the original operator of the hotline, was running it. And a young woman called in and said that while she was a girl growing up on that base, an RAF base, where her father had been stationed at the time, she and a girlfriend were out playing badminton one afternoon, and suddenly they noticed they couldn't hear each other talking, and they were just, a few feet away from one another. And then she became aware of this dark, kind of, circular disc-like object hovering over a nearby tree. And while the object was near them, suddenly they ceased to be able to hear any sound, but then when the object took off, she could hear it again. And an interesting little addendum to that report is that her father wouldn't talk about it much, but years later, when queried, had said, those things were seen at multiple different strategic locations around the world that day, was what the intelligence we had on that indicated. But I was interested in that case for the so-called Oz factor, this unusual auditory phenomenon, or the lack thereof, that occurs in proximity with UAP cases. Now, I don't know if that's what happened with the Caracas incident, but it wouldn't be implausible, in terms of other similarities in UAP reports from over the years, that the immediate vicinity would be generally quiet. Other people say that they're hearing loud noises exterior to that.
And I would, just to kind of add on to that a little bit, I grew up in Central Florida during the shuttle program, and it's not at all unusual for people that live on the east coast of Florida to abruptly, in the middle of the day, for no reason, hear what sounds like an explosion. The walls of your house rattle, maybe something falls down, you panic for a moment and then realize that's just the sonic boom of the shuttle re-entering the atmosphere. So, without knowing a whole lot about aviation, or knowing anything about what this craft was, perhaps it did have a silent propulsion system that generated some kind of a sonic boom when it left. Again, so interesting to this case.
All right.
Immediately when they said about the boom too, I just assumed that was, especially if they had to get out of there and hurry.
Look at it from the alien perspective. It almost sounds like this was a group of college students embarking on a scientific study.
Here we go with the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, in the pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their hands. All the JD.
And looking at Jacob
That'll do it.
With the Judgment Day suffering defeat, I fear they'll make everyone pay for their sins.
This level of people who point a pencil or a wand at you and you're frozen, and then you got to go to the nearest watering hole and try and make all the drunks believe that you just saw aliens. Right.
And it's not the first time either that we hear that, you know, we're trying to injure or shoot at something and it doesn't harm them, like they're protected by some thick barrier or something like that, or they'll disappear in a flash of light or something like that. So this isn't the first case of that either, even back in the early 50s like this. So we've heard this throughout. Yeah.
Here we go with the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, all in the pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way.
Yeah, Judgment Day won't rest
Here we go.
until they have completely taken over WWE. Guys, if this match wants to live up to the rich history here in Minneapolis, it's absolutely going to have to sit. Taking advantage of the opportunity.
And they score the win. What a tag match.
So if you have a case that's clearly a cryptid case,
Here are your winners, the team
What are we up to?
Instead of just fighting over it, I guess. Where does it fit? It tends to be in all three of those. So
We're just going to cruise and have fun today, guys. No rush.
that would be part of the reason.
I think Heather makes some really important points right there because you do tend to see that, right? And this comes back to what you talked about earlier, Mark. The different camps, they want a UFO case to be really credible with, a saucer. Spheres are okay sometimes, maybe triangles, but you can give me a good saucer, that's going to be best. And I want the beings to be smaller than human.
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point by Bob. JD. And looking at Jacob Fox.
This spells trouble for McDonald. Directly into the cup.
The damage is done. What a match and what a great team.
Exciting that I expect to see. It's not a big dumb ape walking around eating berries. The team up. Behavior, right? But the other thing is, too, I do think that there's this sort of national identity component, which, again, my own experience traveling to South America several times, I see this all the time. I hear American skeptics say the American, fixation and fascination with UFOs and how it's an American problem is in the United States. They call this all different kinds of things, but I dispute that. If you spend time in other countries and talk to the UFO groups there, if you speak to former...
Here we go with the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, in the pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any super... Jacob's planning something here.
And looking at Jacob on two.
Lights up, DDT commence.
Jacob about to end this fight. What a tag match we just saw.
Very limited at that time, and it doesn't make a huge splash that it happens today. The team would it end up being front page news? Would it be a world story? But it couldn't have been that,
And I wonder, too, if there's a element of, like, the skinwalker effect, where it was seen as something evil or bad or scary, and that they didn't want to talk about those kind of things. And now we kind of have this new category, right, of the high strangeness. So it kind of fits right into the high strangeness categories of that. So I wonder if that was part of the reason it was kind of, pushed under too.
And to dovetail on what Micah was saying too,
the Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when he has all the JD?
And looking at Jacob
This spells trouble for McDonald.
And it's over. Big tag team win there.
but the difference with Chupacabra is
here are your winners, the team of Jacob Fatu, Wade Barrett,
is being recorded. Anyone could have access to it instantly, and then that was corroborated with television reporting, and then when it jumps to the United States, it goes like wildfire. So, this is maybe Caracas would have been as big as Chupacabra if the internet would have been a thing at the time that it took place.
That's an interesting. Because why did it take 70-some years for maybe...
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron. Judgment Day has made a pretty successful career.
Oh my God.
And you know what's next, guys? And looking at Jacob.
And that's it. Scores a win for the team.
Kind of to your earlier point, would encourage the whole community away from kind of an exceptionalism that the only reports we'll really consider are from here at home, but will cause us to look at other sources, and there will be some work to navigate.
So we're probably about 8 matches away from the next pack, I'd say.
To see, again, together
Maybe
as much
9,
as we
8,
possibly
9.
can.
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can has all the JD? He makes the biggest save of the night.
Turning it into a pin for the win.
Big time win in this tag team match.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob Fatu, Wade Barrett.
After the end of World War II and at the dawn of what many to be considered the beginning of the UFO era, families in separate states would have run-ins with the inexplicable that would leave them shaken to their very cores. My name is Aaron Deese, and with me once again are Ron Murphy, Heather Bozier, Katie Page, Micah Hanks, and Seth Breedlove. This is UFOs Revisited.
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete fairly.
Good point, Byron. Judgment Day is making
Has all the JD.
transitions into the pen. Is this it? He comes to the rescue for his team.
7:30 on September 12, 1952, the small town of Flatwood, West Virginia remains.
Looking for the pin, but was that enough?
Scores a win. What a great team.
You'll see a live we send over a bill.
Here are your winners, the team of
Enter the forest You see a light emanating from some kind of an object, and maybe also some sort of a kind of mist, almost like what you'd expect from a science fiction film. And pretty quickly their attention is diverted over to a large object. You know, there's this sort of roughly humanoid figure, but we can get into that, what it actually looked like, and whether we're talking about a being or we're talking about something else entirely. I mean, that's really, I think, part of the core of the question about Braxy and why it straddles the fence between you followers.
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just go, look at this?
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
Did Jacob Fatu get nothing? And straight into the pin attempt.
Here's Tazza.
Wow, got it. Big time tag team win.
Here are your winners. The team of Jacob Fatu.
Chronicle this one is the intro to that famous book, They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers. And it still remains a perplexing incident. We don't really know exactly what happened. UFO or something even stranger.
And the name Braxy is a shorthand, I should probably say, that has resulted from the fact that this took place in Braxton County. So the creature is also referred to as the Flatwoods Monster, you know, the Braxton County Monster. It has a few different names.
The Braxton County Monster may have preceded Flatwoods Monster.
Here we go with the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go. All in pursuit of amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way. All the JP.
And looking at Jacob Fatu.
DDT. Jacob about to end this fight.
2 count.
Big time win in this tag team match.
Here are your winners. The team of Jacob Fatu.
You said humanoid? Yeah, I guess, because it's standing upright, but it's around 13 feet tall. That's the way the witnesses put it. If we're talking about what the witnesses said they saw, they said it was shaped like a B-12 rocket. They did not see arms. They did not see a head. There's basically a rocket-shaped object with at the top, what could
the Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just
take it by twos and Texas here?
DDT plants that. This spells trouble for McDonald.
Looking to capitalize on that move. And that's it. Scores the win for the team.
Here are your winners. The team of Jacob Fatu.
Clawed hands, and none of the original witnesses said they saw hands. Depending on whose rendition of the events you're talking about. I had the honor of interviewing Eddie and Freddie May, and they were there, and Ed had never done
so a few more matches and then it's pack time.
Yeah. Freddie had done a few, but had sworn off actually doing any more television.
The Judgment Day is assembled here with nothing but menacing looks on their faces. They're out to do some serious damage here tonight.
Aren't they always? The Judgment Day approaches every match with astounding ferocity. They're not here to make friends or to compete here.
Good point, Byron.
This looks like the second two.
And looking at Jacob Fatu, and that was an expertly executed DDT. Transition to the ground.
Is it enough? Got it. There's the winners of the tag match.
Here are your winners. The team of
the dog, according to Freddie and Eddie, that dog never died. Not that it never died. It lives to this day.
It's still alive. It's still alive.
But the way Ed told it, or Fred told it, is that dog hunted squirrels with
I'd say just to be safe, probably another
seems to come in when Parker and Sanderson
4 matches, but if we're lucky we could have it in 3.
is because I came into that making a movie about that story in the same.
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just go take Jacob's planning something here?
And looking at Jacob, down by the DDT.
Is that
There's one.
in this tag team match?
For me, because Kathleen's story.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob.
Her written, interview from, I think it's Barker, but it might be Sanderson, word for word, what she said. And she does give a description that does not align with the boys' description, the description of the creature that they gave me later, creature.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 matches.
So the story begins with them seeing
That's alright.
streaking across the sky, right? And then they're like, we gotta run to they see it crash on top of this hill.
Here we go with the Judgment Day in the ring. This group causes chaos and destruction wherever they go, pseudo-amassing as much power as they can.
Judgment Day is a legitimate threat to anyone in WWE. They have the numbers, the talent, and they will smash any superstar in their way.
Here we go. And looking at Jacob Fatu.
Jacob taking this fight, following it up with the cover. Got it. What a match, and what a great team.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob Fatu.
I'm clear on. I could not get Ed and Fred to vouch for this mist, but it is a key piece of the story. But supposedly there was definitely a smell, a sulfuric smell in the air. They did talk about that. They did not recall ever seeing a craft. They saw a light come down, land on top of the hill, or crash into the hill, and then they went up the hill. They think Kathleen did approach something in the woods, but got scared and came back up.
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage ambushes. They'll do whatever it takes to win.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn?
Jacob Fatu's intentions here. Jacob about to end this fight.
And coming out for the match.
What a tag match we just saw.
Here are your winners, the team of Jacob.
All right. Pack time.
I'm not sure.
Here again, we see the importance of oral history and sitting and speaking to witnesses about things. Right.
And we also see
We're chasing one oddity. I forget which oddity. It's for Bray, I know that much, but I forget which one. We will have a quick look, actually, so... we need the Fiend mask, so... Chasing that, Taker and Asuka.
Sanderson each have a different agenda as well.
And that brings us back to something we've talked about already. Gray Barker's name's come up a lot in conversations. And again, one common thread that I've noticed, I enjoyed his writing, but I'm taking everything he says with a grain of salt. He's in these cases, I've said it already.
I got excited then, but nope.
Story, but we're not always factual. And in instances that people have come forward and talked about over the years, they have said that they were encouraged by him when they pitched stories to his letters and publications. He encouraged them to do the same thing, embellish just a little bit. In fact, you might just make up the name of an organization and some people who are members of it and say that this is something that they told you rather than you telling it. And that will make it more important. And that makes a lot of sense in terms of the dog dying. The dog, actually, the Lazarus dog, we'll call it, it didn't die at all. It kept hunting for years.
The Judgment Day has turned themselves into one of the most formidable groups in all of WWE. Cutthroat tactics, rule bending, backstage.
Oh, I can't believe I wasn't close enough.
I respect Judgment Day's approach to competition. Why play by the rules and wait your turn when you can just go take what you want? If you don't like it, then say it.
That was when I first became interested in the Flatwoods Monster case. I looked up that interview and listened to it. I didn't recall how like he was, for some reason, in the area, and then ended up linking up with Barker, and they conduct these interviews together, as I understand it. Barker is on the scene ahead of Sanderson, though, which that might clue you into something right there.
This crap again. Okay, guys, give me a few minutes and I'll be back.